Welcome back everyone to Let's Play Aurora 4X episode number 18. We're continuing our Fletcher design, and I've already mocked up here the magazine we're going to want for our ships, which is the very next thing we want, because we already have our missile launchers, we have a good idea about our sensors. All of it's coming together. The last thing I wanted to figure out is how many, excuse me, how many missiles should we have per missile launcher. It's only going to fire one at a time, obviously, but what I mean is how many reloads. And that's where your magazine, the whole min-max of the magazine comes in. I was just looking for a capacity number which is divisible by 6, because our size is 6. This can store a total of 288 size of missiles. So this divided by 6 is, according to my trusty calculator, 48. That means that if we chose this magazine size, we could get 48 size 6 missiles stored in one of these. And that seems to be a really nice number because it's divisible by a lot of different things. Well, mainly 1, 2, and 3. I mean, well, obviously 1, but 2 and 3, both, because, well, size 6. I mean, 48 itself. I'm no longer talking about 288, which is also divisible by 2 and 3, because it's divisible by 6. But it's 48, which is the number we have left over after we factor 6 out of this. This is how many missiles we'll have, and this is a great number too, because we can do combinations of 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and then, well, the complements for those, so 12, whatever, etc., 24, blah, blah, blah. Like, we could either... The question is how many launchers do we want to pair with a single magazine? And for a size 15... Just to keep us in touch, this is a pretty sizable launcher. Magazine. So every one of these we add is going to be slightly less than, but more, nearly 1,000 tons per magazine. And the launchers we had were, I already forgot. Let me just put this over here for a moment so I don't lose it. I think I have the launchers already queued up in research though. Yeah, it's a size 6 missile launcher. But I forgot, what's the whole size for a size 6 launcher? Let's just remake it real fast, because I'm a dummy. I don't remember. Oh, right. Well, this is a thing. So we can go back to this. 15 is the thing. We'll just quickly do it. A size 6 launcher is 6 whole size. Okay, that's nice to know. So if we were to get 4 of these or whatever, well, anyways, this is just 300 tons a piece. I'll just remember that. Go back to magazines. I'll go back to 15. That's our nice number. Back down to 48 missiles. So considering one launcher is 300 tons, we could have maybe 4 launchers would be... 4 launchers and the magazine would be 2,000 tons. So that's a pretty good amount. Maybe we could even get... The trade-off is obviously the more reloads you have, the more, the longer you can keep firing missiles. And usually it's more important to fire more missiles in a single volley than to fire more volleys over your life, because the easier it is, the larger the missile size, the volley, the harder it is for the point defense to overcome it. So you're actually being more missile efficient that way, especially if they have sensors on them, which I do plan to put an active sensor, a not very good one, but just a very small, like probably 0.1 size active sensor, just to allow these things to home in onto any enemy ship after they reach their target destination. Some of them will just hit the ship they're aiming for directly, but if they happen to lose a lock, well, the most common reason for that is if we destroy the ship that we were trying to kill, they'll move on to the next target, which is nice. Okay, so what did I want to say about all that? It's more important to have a larger volley. Now, this is where we have to do the math between how many different launchers the more launchers we have, the less reloads we'll have. So let me think. If we do 6 launchers, each of those will still get 8 reloads, which is a total of 9 volleys. That's not that much, but if we have a collier, which is basically your missile reloader ship, your missile transport ship, The most efficient thing is obviously like the fighter system, where eventually you just have box launchers and you reload after every single launch. Because, well, the box launchers are smaller and the ship is not storing any of missiles itself, so all of its space is totally for combat, none for storage. That's really efficient for combat. That's why fighters end up being very important later in the game. But to kind of, I think actually, yeah, we're gonna do this more like the U.S. military is right now, which is I think kind of how the Star Trek ships were based off of. So I think that we will actually do more reloads, even though it's slightly less efficient, because it's more fitting of the self-contained ships that don't need to rearm very often. And I think that's more in the spirit of both the United States ships right now, which is what the Star Trek ships are based off of. So, and then therefore also the Star Trek ships. So I don't know how many photon torpedoes like the Enterprise, which is only a scout ship, carried, but I think it was a fair number. So, excuse me real fast. Let me get this. Forgot to adjust my microphone before. So let's actually go with less. Well, maybe we even just make this bigger. So let's look for the next number, which is both divisible by... Okay, this is almost. Looking for... this is both divisible by 3 and 2, so this is divisible by 6. Let's see how many this is. 384. 64. Okay. Then if we give them 4 launchers, that'll be 16 reloads, which is quite a number. So 17 total missiles. Okay, I like this. We're going to do magazine size of 20 for every 4 launchers. So now we're at 1,000 tons exactly. So every launcher is going to have, that's a good number of reloads. 17 total missiles, 16 reloads. Okay, let's keep it this way then. So we'll do the 1 to 4 ratio. We might even put 8 launchers and 2 of these on, which will be a total of almost 5,000 tons of weaponry. Chalk on another like 3,000 for our engine. Yeah, this will probably be around 10,000 ton missile destroyers, but I think they'll be very capable. So, great. Okay, good. So we're committing ourselves now. This, David Collins, you have one thing which I actually need you to... before you do that, let's get you to do this. So we'll queue this, and we'll get that one up in the queue. Very good. So now he will do both of his missile technology things, and then I'm sure he'll have some left over after that. And he'll keep dumping that into the Tri-Cobalt warhead, which we won't get for this missile. We'll be able to get the missile, but we'll design the missiles later because, again, we don't need those until we have the completely finished design. Actually, we do need to be able to actually start building some of those with our ordnance place. But, okay, we still have a little bit of time, though, I would say. Okay, let's see. Next things. So far we're ticking off different things, right? We have our active sensors. We have our missile fire control. We have our engine, right? I think we got our engine. Power and propulsion. Let's see. Is Madeline... Dr. Jordan? Did we not get the engine? We did. This is not the right engine, though. That's the missile engine. Okay, so we didn't do the engine yet. Very good. That might be something I might want to cut away real fast, do the particular design of, and then come back. But we know that Madeline Jordan is going to do this, and then she will continue her research on capacitor recharge, but probably will end up queuing something else in front of that as well, the same way we do it with Dr. Collins. The actual engine we want our ships to be built with. And I'm thinking now, so I thought I designed it last time. Am I going crazy? No, I definitely designed the missile one. Let's just kind of take a look at what... No, I really... Did I not? I really did not? No, it would be right here. That's the nice thing about having the numbers first, is that you'd see it right at top. Maybe I deleted it? Did I already research it? I'm going crazy. Let's look at engines just to see. Yeah, 2062 was the last time something was built. Okay, well, let's just design an engine then, which is my favorite thing to design, to be honest. But all right, so we have very low fuel consumption rate, good fuel economy, which is fantastic. I think this is going to end up being around 40, and now that I know that, oh, that's 1792, that's just massive. Now that I know that this thing is going to be around 10,000 tons, man, I wonder if we maybe don't even need this much, though. Okay, let's do two things. Let's lower this down to 1.3, which will increase our fuel consumption, will give us better fuel consumption. Let's take this down to 35 as well. So that is, okay, about 2,000 tons. Then we have 5,000 tons. And then everything else, let's see. Okay, so this is going to be a whole 35. Let's just quickly move this off screen for a moment. Pull up our mock design of the Fletcher. And let's see what happens if we... So this engine is 45, if I'm not mistaken, this 2051. I mean, it's outdated, but yeah, 45. So we can leave that there as a potential. Now we know that we are going to have to add on 5,000 tons of make-believe stuff, basically, which I'm just going to do with some fuel pods, which are really easy to get. So ultra-large is 100 whole size, which is 5,000 tons. So we add one of these on, and we pretend that this is our ship. Okay, so even this setup, wow, means our ship would be going, my god, 7,000 kilometers per second. That is insane. Let's bump up the armor, which we will want up probably 4 or 5. It just doesn't have any real effect. We have our damage control on as well. Okay, that's for missiles and all that, but the sensors themselves is probably another, let's call it another 1,000. So we're still looking at 5,000 kilometers. This is a damn fast ship. I really like this. I think that this is going to be just fine. And this is for a engine rated at 10,080. We may make our engines even more fuel efficient by lowering that modifier, because that is damn good. That is damn good. I mean, ignoring the fact that our range has gone up by insane amounts. Let's just take those off. Okay. Take this off. Everything is back down to normal. The deployment time we're going to want for this is probably going to be 12, and we're going to want a lot of engineering spaces to make sure she's not breaking down. So we will... Let's just finish designing this engine then. So even 1456 seems to be more than we need. We could take down the size, which is going to help a little bit, or the power. How much does this one drop count? For 1.30 to 1.25, we get... It's a modest modifier. Okay, 1400. You know what? That's perfect. Let's do 1.25 at 35 whole size. I like this. I like everything about it. It's a good engine. It'll actually be better because it's smaller than the one we had from 2051. Well, go figure, right? But I think we're just going to go with this, and we're going to see what this engine ends up getting us. You know, this will just be a little bit of guesswork. 7,000 research points for this. Good thing we kept it smaller. Does this have an effect on... It does, okay. So even doing less of this is going to increase or decrease the research cost as well, which is nice. So a 1400 EP, inertial fusion drive, fuel consumption rate of 0.2, which is really not bad for a military engine. Really not bad. It's quite good. Although this going, yeah, it would actually decrease if we went up on that, but that's fine. It's more fuel efficiency, but also more fuel use. We can see that fuel used is still going up, even though efficiency is going down. So there's something to be said about smaller engines in that regard. All right, I'm just going to create this. We're going to hope that that is going to work out well. I don't want to spend forever in this episode just designing. We want to get this ship out. So let me just tack this on. What I'm going to do is, okay, what did we miss? I think I'm going to cut away here and figure out what we missed. I know that this is one thing. We've got to get that in there. Move it up. So we have our engine, we have our missiles and missile launchers, missile magazines, we have our sensors. I think that the Fletcher herself is done. The one that we need next is going to be the Aegis, which might end up being an Aegis class destroyer if we give her enough defense turrets. So I'm going to cut here. I'm going to come back when I have a good philosophy of design for the Gauss turrets and the Aegis. And then I might even come back when some of these things are already researched so we can see them on the Fletcher. But I'll explain everything I've done. I know that we have to do turrets basically next, so it might not be that difficult. I just wanted the rates of 5 and the launch of 5. That's what I wanted for sure. I'm not going to decrease size to get better accurate. At the cost of accuracy. That doesn't make sense to me. Actually, this is fine. We can make this. This is what I'll do. I'll make this, which is, I think, the obvious choice for our Gauss cannon. There's no real options to play with here. We just want the best, right? And what I'll do is I'll come back when this is done researching, because we won't be able to make our turret design until we have at least one beam weapon. So, so we'll get this done first, and then I'll come back when we can make our turret. And I'm thinking a lot of the other design stuff will be ready to implement on the ship, and we can kind of see how the Fletcher is being fleshed out. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now at this point I have finished all the technology that we went through in the last little clip. That's all completed. It's all done. I actually somehow neglected, or missed, I should say, the notification that the Gauss cannon research was done, and I kept going. We probably went like a whole month ahead or something, but it was done much faster than I expected. So everything's done, including the active sensors and the what is the other one called? Missile fire control is all done, but I forgot about beam fire control. But this pairs itself really well with the turret design stuff, so it's not actually terrible that we're doing them together. For reference, I brought up the technology report in the background. We're looking at the old one, which was for 50% accuracy at 128,000, had a tracking speed of 15k. I think we're going to do a lot better in this one. We have natural fire control tracking rate of 8,000, and what we're going to be able to do with that is multiply it by 4 and get a desired tracking speed of 32,000. Now, if you note that our missiles are 43,000 or so, this would still be this is the way things go. Ultimately, you have to use missiles for everything. But hopefully with the difficulty turned down and everything like that, we can just neglect that. And usually the discrepancy between Gauss fire control and enemy missiles is not really great in the beginning of the game. I'm speaking like a veteran, and I've only taken one game of Aurora 4X super late game, but I don't even know what late game means actually, but I've only really gotten to the later technologies once. So we'll see. Maybe this is all just naive, and it could be. But we'll have fun learning what I should have learned. We'll just have fun learning all the different things as we go along. So for range, it's kind of a weird situation. Gauss cannons, they just don't have, this is a maximum range of 50k. So it to some degree, there's no point in making super long range fire control, because we have 50% accuracy at 60,000. Well, our Gauss cannons can only fire at 50,000, so it doesn't really matter, right? Well, yes and no. There is, I believe that final defense happens at 10,000 kilometers, which means that whatever your accuracy at 50% is here, it's just a linear ratio from 0. So you have 100% accuracy at 0 and 50% accuracy at 60,000, which means you have 0% accuracy at 120,000. But your final defense occurs at 10,000. So technically, the further you push this 50% value out by, the better your fire control accuracy at final defense, because the better your accuracy at 10,000 kilometers. Since it's a linear scale, that wherever you put the middle point, the further away the middle point is, the closer to 100% it will be when it's at 10,000 kilometers away. Anyways, that's probably common knowledge to everyone who's watching this series already, so that's why I always kind of bounce back and forth on what I actually want with this. we don't really need these to be accurate in any other way. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to put 2 for our size. So we'll have a size 2 beam fire control. The disadvantage of what I'm doing here is this will completely eliminate the ability for this fire control to be used with lasers, because I'm only saying 120,000. I mean, our last one was 128 for crying out loud, and I could, if I wanted, get 240,000. You can say a very big improvement over the previous fire control. Beam fire control. This will definitely be beam fire control. So what does this mean for us? Because I'm debating whether or not our Aegis destroyers, just in the last like 30 minutes, I've been kind of hemming and hawing about doing this next segment because I got here, but now I'm like, okay, what do I really want to do? I started to think maybe I want the Aegis to have a laser on it. Now, that means the Aegis is going to have to be fast and all these things, and okay, I'm going to go back on it. I'm going to say that that's too much work to just ad-lib, to do on the fly, call an audible. We're not going to do that, so we'll just stick with 2x the range, actually maybe 1.5. That's actually fine. This basically means that we have like 95% accuracy at 10,000 kilometers. I think that's just fine. And now we have a whole size of only 3, which is good. If we go up any higher, yeah, it's 4. Yeah, I think that this is a very welcome difference. I really like that. Okay, so let's make this beam fire control once again, it's fire control, missile fire control, beam fire control. They should be their own thing. It doesn't really matter, but I like to keep them separated apart because technically this value, 90, is in 1,000 kilometers instead of million kilometers, which is what it is for missile fire control. And now this will be the lone one that was made in July. So that's our beam fire control. Well, I guess it will have a companion here. So let me do, this one is going to be, I guess that's fine. I don't need the 2066 is really the thing we need with this. So, because I could rename this 2067 Gauss fire control, but there's also a number I usually attach to this. I think I usually put on, so the rate of fire is here at 5, right? Or is that range? 100, where's this 100 coming from? Is that it doesn't look like the tracking speed. This is not intuitive for me. Oh, this is all part of the Gauss cannon itself. Okay, so the R5 100, I mean, we can just take a look then. What is this Gauss cannon? Accuracy modifier is 100. Okay. Well, I think that's... Let's do it this way. Rate of fire 5, R5, range 5, and then we'll do... I mean, I shouldn't have named... This should have been... We can actually rename this. I think I will. So let me just close this real fast, rename this, and then we'll put it back in. I don't really care about 100% accuracy. I'd rather know that this is ROF5, R5. We can do it this way too. Might look nicer. Okay, call that the RO5, rate of fire 5, range 5, and that is what it is. Shots per increment 5, range modifier 5. That looks good to me. Because I'm not going to make anything with less than 100% accuracy. It'll never happen. Let's go back to turret design. There it is. We want this to be a twin. Desired tracking speed, now that we know, is going to be 32. It's going to be a kind of expensive turret, I think, in the end. Armor thickness, I don't really care about this. I, for the longest time, wasn't sure if this armor thickness mattered, because I was wondering if the turret was literally on the outside of the ship. I don't even know if I ever solved my own, or answered my own question or not, but I presumed, I read a little bit about it, and I think that turrets are considered internal. To me, it would have made sense actually to have the turrets as like external bubbles, like what you would expect with a turret. And in which case they would need their own armor thickness, etc. But I don't know if it works that way. I think they are considered internal. And someone on the video comments will correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, but I don't want to spend forever on this, so let's just... Okay, and track 32. So 32,000 tracking. That makes sense to me. That's the main thing I think is important for this to know about. The accuracy at whatever is all due to the beam, so... Okay. Let's do this as well. Let's do AC 90-32. That makes sense to me. Okay, let's create this. Let's create this first. Okay. Close. Create. Close. And now I have some more research to do, I think, before we can get these things going. And then we can start piling them on... What did I do? Beam fire control, fire control. There it is. So let's interrupt Dr. Mahmood's thermal sensor research with this, and then get him to continue his research after that. And we'll figure out all the finer details after that. So we can go back over to the Fletcher now. Do I already have it up? Nope. Fletcher, design. We can get the correct engines on it now. I wish military jump drives were actually a separate engine, but the J, I guess, is helpful enough. But are we still working on that one? I guess we are. Yes, we had the wrong order. Okay. Well, that's good that I spotted it now. Okay, so I thought that the top is the first thing that'll be done next. I'm pretty sure I did it the right way, but okay, whatever. This is actually going to take a little while to do, too, so. Dr. Jordan, get working on that, and then as your follow-up, then you can continue with capacitor recharge. That's perfect. Okay, is there any other technologies that I'm missing that need something? No. Okay, good. So everything's done, and basically I'll come back when we're ready to really populate the Fletcher with things. We'll do that all together at once. I think that's a pretty fun moment, so I'll save it for an on-camera moment. But I'll come back only when the research is done. I think we're done with every bit of research we need to have for the Fletcher is done, except for the beam fire control and the engine. I think everything else is done. So, yeah, I think so. So I'll put that to the test. We'll see if it's true. I'll make sure it is the case by the time I get back at least. So we'll see you in a bit. And we're back once again. I forgot to mention the role-playing elements from the comments thread on the previous episode, so let me do that now. This is from episode 17, the missile design one. Had a nice entry from Sevi. Personal log, Captain Jebediah K. Perk, commander of the USS Pot Custardi. 20th May 2065. Got news that my half-brother Jeremiah finally managed to get admitted to engineering school and may or may not graduate to become a mining engineer. He will surely be forced to take posting off Earth, as the news was they have nearly strip-mined the whole planet. Was the thing I was particularly interested in. It was well done, the way he drew the connection from the fact that we now no longer have any minerals whatsoever on Earth. Everything is now an import. And it looks like we're losing mercasium at a pretty quick rate. But to be honest, that's not too surprising. We have made it up to 174 research facilities. So we're nearly at 200. My goal is to have 200 by the 50-year mark. And we have, I mean, not even the 50-year, 75-year mark, sorry, by the year 2100. We have blown ahead of that. I've been pushing research facilities much faster than normal this time. Well, that's good. That's very good. Although I will say, normally by this time I do have all my moon population is the one doing the research. And we could do that if we wanted. They have 27 million. Actually, that's not that many. Growth rate not as quick as I thought. Probably just because I keep pausing to do all this research. Anyway, I thought that was a nice entry. Just speed through the other ones. We have Mr. Jarvis, who's awaiting his commission of Scout. Let's see, anything else interesting? The Titan, I removed our Admiral rights team from Titan on James McClellan's, on the Senator Willard's recommendation, I should say. The Senate has just the things were going too slow there. I don't know why they were hung up on Titan. Also, to make a note about the civilian issues we had last time, I don't know if I already mentioned this, but I did destroy, in a separate gameplay, I did delete our colonies out, everything except for Earth, just to see what would happen if there was no other colonies. Would the civilians actually care to oblige the tasks I asked them? And yes. So I don't know why the civilians are getting bogged down in whatever they're getting bogged down in. And there's, plenty of ships that aren't doing anything, probably, but none of them are accepting that contract to move, the auto mines and all that. I'm still going to wait on it. I just don't care. I can't be bothered. The slowness of actually manually doing that transfer. Let me just try to get episodes out faster for now, and when minerals become a problem, I'll just have to that'll force me to take a look at the issue a little more carefully. Right now, I think we just have a shortage of Mercassium, which is not surprising to me. And honestly, we don't really need as much Mercassium as we're getting right now, because if I was to stop at 180 research labs, that would be fine. I'm way ahead of the curve, my own curve, so. Alright, but now the big exciting news. The Fletcher is ready. She's not, the concept of the Fletcher is ready. But now we can actually start adding in all the different things. So, right now, she's just waiting for an engine. Well, let's add the engine last, so it's pretty dramatic. We get to see what her speed will be. This is funny. I didn't need to wait for beam fire control for her. She's going to have. This is now obsolete, by the way. Okay. This missile fire control is what she will have. Yes. And I'm going to give her the active sensors. I still think that's the best way of doing it. If I was to give the Aegis lasers and all that, I was considering putting the active sensors on them, but yeah, it's probably still better. I think it's still better to put the active lasers on our missile ships. So what am I looking for here? Sensors. There it is. Okay, so now we have our fire control and our active sensors. So far so good. We're still below 1,000 tons. No problems here. Next thing we want, our fire control. Where's our energy? Oh no, non-laser energy weapons. This is it. There it is. So we'll get one. No. This is not it. This is not it. delete, undo. That's for the Aegis. This one's going to have missiles to reload. Oh, that reminds me. Now's probably a really good time, while right in the middle of we're doing this design, I need to just check on. This is ways off. So we can design our missile now. Which I unfortunately closed the window, so I'm going to have to take a quick cut after this. Okay, unfortunately the Fletcher won't be ready to go until I make one more quick cut, because I forgot to get her missile designed. And we will want that built into the ship. It's just kind of a convenience thing. So we will put the magazines in. These are them, 384, that's it. That's the one. We want, what is it? This holds 48, and we think we're doing 4 per, so each one has 13 reloads. So let's go ahead and just do 1 for now and see what 4 looks like on this thing. So that's 3. Okay, we did our 4-to-1 pairing. This thing's at 2,700 tons. We're doing fine. Let's get another group of 4. So we have 8 missile launchers and 2 magazines. That's a nice ship. Probably more reloads than it really needs. Well, actually, we're not so sure about that. So that's a good number. Now, each one of those, we have 8 launchers, and each one of them will still have the full 13 reloads, was it? We had 48, right? And we're doing 4, so 12. Yeah, 13 total volleys. I could always do 3 per. I could take this down or move it up to 9 and get 1 more, and then they'll each have 19 total volleys. How are we doing? Let's add the engine and see where we're at then. Okay, we have active fire control. We have missile fire control, active sensors. Damage control, which is important. How are we doing damage control? 31, good, that's fine. We have 8 launchers, 2 magazines. I think we're set, except for the engine. Let's just see what happens when we add the engine now. The moment of truth. Holy cow. Holy cow. I think we over-designed our destroyer. I am going to make this a missile destroyer as well, decided. Guardsman Gary convinced me that this would be the designation the US Navy would give it, and that's kind of how the Star Trek universe is modeled their military ships on, so. Okay, wow, so we are going to go hard in the paint then. We need to add more missiles to this thing just because, oh my god, that's armor 7 is fine, just plenty of armor. I cannot believe this thing is so freaking fast. Well, it'll be a little bit slower when the range is perfect for what I would want. I guess let's double the range. Let's just add one more large fuel tank on. Yeah, so this has a range of just about 60 billion, which is pretty good, as you can imagine. Fuel usage is pretty low percentage compared to what you might think military ships would be. Gosh, if I had known this would be so fast. Holy cow. We could just make these a little beefier by going up to 8 armor. But I should also... We need engineering. Our maintenance life is terrible right now. So let's get some engineering spaces. Wow, that was not that hard. Annual failure rate of 126%. Max repair is 700. We would have not enough, so this is going to actually get bigger. It's kind of a weird maintenance life. If it's saying that we'll have at least one part fail, I guess it's just hoping that the one part that fails isn't the engine. But we want to actually have enough to repair the engine. So I think we're actually going to go for a 2-year. This is kind of crazy. I like the annual fail rate below 100% though. And we had the space to do it. And now let's just take this down and see how things increase when we go up. 100 goes up to 68, goes up to 69 from 68. Okay, so our break-even point is here. We have a 50 jump. We have 100 and another 50 jump at 8. Okay, then I think 8 will be a magic number. Now, is there anything to stop us from just making an extremely, extremely fast destroyer, missile destroyer? Well, I just think it just doesn't make sense. We should definitely add more magazines then. And I think I will go to 1 for 3, so each one has 19 reloads. Since each one of these supported, I think I have my calculator still up. I do. There it is. Okay, so once again, let's just go to the math. 384 divided by 6 is, oh my gosh, 64. That means that already if 4 per, we each have 17 reloads. I forgot about that. We already upped the size from 15 whole size to 20 whole size. Okay, well, let's just go for one more batch then. They're going to be extremely long range, so adding more of these doesn't really increase their... they should never die. They should always be able to just run away. I mean, with this kind of speed, they should always be able to get out of the way. So, yeah, I think it's going to be worth it then. Let's maybe even add more fuel capacity, make them extremely long-range ships. What if we went to very large? Kind of not worth it. So very large is 1,000 versus large is 250. So went from 30 to 60 on the one jump. Then it would go from, I guess, 60 to like 85 and then up to that's kind of not worth it. If we go back to large, Yeah, so the first one is 29, then it's 56, then it's 80, and then it's 103. That's weird. Why is it... Wait, was that what it was here? Oops. That's the wrong one. Yeah, it was 103. Okay. 103. Only a jump by 20. I think we'll just stick to 3 of them. Which is kind of a compromise between, well, 2 and 4, obviously. It's kind of the worst case scenario, though, because the cost to build 3 of them is 90. The cost to build one of these is 70. So from a build cost standpoint, it's worse. All right, fine. I think 60 or 56 billion should be enough for us. I was thinking about making them... I mean, we're giving them a life. We're giving them a massive maintenance life, though. So maybe we should make them somewhat long range, and especially because we might not find ships out there. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with a very large fuel tank. Okay, so 100 billion kilometers on these things, which gives them plenty of range. And maintenance life for 2 years. We'll give them a deployment time to somewhat match what they're doing, 1 year and 3 months. So they can only go for, well, yeah, this is kind of unnecessary. Take this back down to 12 because they can only go 131 days. So this maintenance life is purely so that we can repair the engine at least once. But our deployment time will be only 12 months. Now, the good news about having a higher deployment time is it's possible we'll want these to just sit somewhere, like sit at a jump point or something and defend something. And then they aren't burning fuel, and then the deployment time does come into play. My goodness, but look at this though. 412 massive active sensors and 250 million kilometers on our range for the missile fire control. So our target for the missiles will be around 200, and I think, didn't I already design the missile? Okay, that's what I'm going to do next. Just cut away. I'll pull up the missile designer thing again. I know I had it somewhere, but I don't know where. So we'll bring it back over, and I'll design the missile, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start building the Fletcher. So, see you in a sec. Okay, so I actually went through the missile design stuff, and I recorded it, but it ended up being like almost 10 minutes, about 9 minutes of camera time. Excuse me real fast. I felt like that was a little too much just for missile design, so let's just go over the design that I ended up making. This is, of course, the one that I originally designed it after. So all the stuff that's in here, let me bring that over. We'll see that in the missile design area right here. You can get the statistics, the values that you want. You can plug them in here, which I've done, and I went for 15,000 as my target speed, which is more than we need, I'm pretty sure. 200 is what we kind of already made our sensors for, so I put 200, and I got this. Now the only problem is I didn't put in sensors and a reactor. You need a reactor to power the sensors, so anyway. And then it took a long time, like I said, about 10 minutes I was doing that video, but then I decided, you know what, we're just gonna redo it. So now I'm just gonna show you the final design. Well, okay, but we don't have to do that. I can just show you that this is my 2-size engine. If I do 2.5, because this is times 10, that's 25. And then this weird 3984, agility was supposed to be 1.1016, and you can see this is a perfect missile size 6, 42,700, 200 missile, the 145% chance of hitting at 10K. What happened is I wanted to add in a reactor. So even if I add in just a 0.01 at, let's say, 80, that's 4,000. I can detect at 50,000. I wanted it slightly larger, but the big problem here is that it requires a reactor of 0.008. So now I'm already 0.008 over the 0.01 that I wanted, which means I'd have to drop this agility down. And ultimately, that's what I kind of, well, I messed up in a little bit because this is, this would be 0.018 would be 0.8 and 3? Yeah. And I'm not sure if that's the exact values I chose or not. We can see that this didn't decrease my range at all. This basically just decreases. It makes it inefficient because I'm sure this is not an agility plateau that the beautiful Aurora missile designer would have done for me, but that's okay. Basically, it just reduces my. We're down from 145 to 140. Well, that's not a big deal. We might even drop that lower just for more fuel, but I did target an enemy at 15,000. So this is what I actually made. Let's see, is it any different? Yeah, it is. I went for 0.2 here, so that dropped this a little bit further. And that gives us active sensing of 4,000 ton objects or larger at 100,000. And that does seem like a reasonable distance. Most of the time the fleets will be all clustered together, which means 20,000, 15, 10,000 is even enough, I think. And these only do jumps of 10,000, I think. So in our case, 20,000 I would put as my safe limit. But 100,000 is going to be plenty. That means that even if we do a waypoint, fire at a waypoint, we have a little bit of window of inaccuracy. Okay, but that said, this is my actual size 6 anti-ship missile, 25 damage, max range 200 missile. I like my naming convention. I think it works out well. Better than size 6 anti-ship missile. Kind of doesn't really say enough in my opinion. So that is what I did off camera. Spent about 10 minutes talking about that, and I messed up with the reactor, so I had to go back and fix all that. But that was all off camera. Then I actually researched it. So those are all done, which means that we can finally put our Fletcher class entirely together. Okay, so the design view, we have the launcher, we have our magazines. We have just 2 sets of those, and I'll probably, like I said, I was thinking, because this speed is incredible, we might as well add another one on. So let's go ahead and do that now. One more set. And one more magazine. Now this gives us 17 reloads still, but now we're firing 12 missiles per ship, which is, this is a really good number. It's plenty of missiles going down the enemy's way. Then we also wanted to. Now we can add ordnance. So just by doing, put 100 in here. I think we won't have 100. 17 times. Well, we might actually. Yeah. Wow, we have 204. Okay, so we can hold 204, which includes some in the launchers themselves, and then also includes most of them in the magazines. So that's good. We've loaded those in. Is there anything missing? We're still traveling at 7,500, which is incredible. Even with our very large storage, the additional reloads, the additional missile launchers and all that have taken our range down to 84 billion, I should say. So now I feel a lot more confident using very large versus large. I always wanted to get 30 billion, that's my standard. But for these ships, which are possibly a little bit longer range, I'm happy to get over 50. And 80 is a bit of a bonus on top of that. Last thing we want to do, check the maintenance life, 717, max repair is 700, that's perfect. So although our maintenance life, we could probably lower this deployment a little bit. Let's see, where does it? Oh, wow. Interesting. So we get the extra deployment time for free, as you can see. Oh, let's not put this size in tons. So 212 is 187.9, which gives us, well, I might as well do it this way. This will work. So 93.95 means that we can go up to 13, and now we're at 9,400 exactly, which means if I go to 13.1 even, 0.2, but they only do it in 0.5, so there I'm at 9410, so now I tick up to the next 50-ton increment. So we can get 13 on this, which is nice, for free. What's the next lowest thing? 9, 8, 8. So somewhere, I can either do 8 months or I can do a maintenance life of 1.54 again. For the benefit of doing the longer lifetime is that I can just sit somewhere for a lot longer and not have to worry about it. So we'll do that just to make sure that we're not losing any crew morale. It almost makes sense to add one more engineering bay to this, then we'll have to rebalance the deployment time. I think I'm going to leave it. That annual failure rate is pretty high though. Yeah, let's go ahead and add one more engineering bay. Okay, so now we'll have to rebalance this. We're at 91.34. Okay, 5, 6. Okay, 6 is the perfect sweet spot. So we're at 9,500 tons now. We have a deployment maintenance life deployment of 2 years. We have a deployment time of 1 year and 4 months. That's a good ratio. Average annual failure rate is at 120%. So, well, we helped a little bit, but we're still expecting at least one part to fail every year, possibly more than one. Okay, so and I think everything is done now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this episode to a close here, because I want you guys to review this. Oftentimes, it's so easy for me to make mistakes. I think we're already using the newest armor. We are, because crystalline composite. We have our damage control over 20. I think I usually try to get it over 20, and we're at 30, right? Yeah. Our speed is phenomenal. Our range looks good. Maintenance life is good. Deployment time is good. I think we have plenty of missiles. We have the missiles loaded in. You know, this huge mental checklist of all the different things you're going to want. So I'm going to save this ship design here. And now we go over to the Aegis. So let's do a new design. And this is going to be I don't know if they have what I want. This is probably going to be a destroyer escort. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Let's make this a destroyer escort, because it's not going to be a frigate. I'm upgrading it from a frigate to a destroyer escort, mainly because it's going to be pretty high tonnage, I think. So let's rename this the Aegis directly. Also, it was pointed out something that I will be doing. We can use Star Trek names directly here. Not names, we want ships, because these are actual people. We don't want that. But there's actual ships in here, which this is exactly the list which we're going to use from now on for ship classes. And especially, like, I know that somebody asked for the Defiant. I saw it in here somewhere. There it is. If somebody asked for the Defiant, I can make the Defiant ship class a class, and then afterwards the Defiant itself will also exist. But I can make, if you happen to choose a name which is on this list, don't rename it, it's not a big deal, but if you happen to already have it, I'll try to coincide or match up a class to your ship. But that's pretty far off. So let's get the Aegis pumped out real fast, because I'm at 50 minutes, so I want to get this out now. This is going to have advanced damage control, the same engines, and this one is allowed to be a little bit faster, because I'm technically not going to be making these as my fast pursuit ones, the idea I had originally. It may still turn out that way though. So, non-laser energy weapons means that we don't need a reactor. Only lasers need reactors, I think. Or I think that's the way it goes. Lasers need reactors. I don't know if I've never used the carronades, the plasma carronades before, so I don't know if they need power or not. Okay, next we don't need active sensors, because these are going to be the support unit, but we do need beam fire control. Beam fire control. There it is. Good. And we're going to want another turret. I don't know why I only put one in there. We're probably going to want multiple even. So non-laser. There it is. We're looking at 2 is 40. Let's add a third one. Yeah, that's cheap enough that we can add 3 twins. Maybe even another. There we go. So right now we have 14 was the target and a lot of engineering bays. We're going to take away this fuel storage, add a very large as well. I mean, yeah, very large. And then a lot of the engineering spaces. 2 years, that's kind of what we were targeting. Now, this is only 6,800 tons, so it's a destroyer escort. I think that makes perfect sense. This thing is over 10,000, so it definitely has the speed, more speed than the other one does. We could balance it out, of course, if we just make them the same exact tonnage, but it doesn't matter. It just decreases the thermal emissions. It doesn't change the fuel efficiency at all. Like there's still, like it's just a linear scaling. If you're only going at half power, you only burn half fuel, which, that's not the way cars work or stuff like that. But that's especially because of heat loss and wind resistance and stuff like that, which we're not going to be dealing with in space, I guess, or at least it's not abstracted that way. The good news is this one's going to actually have less than 100% chance of an annual failure, so that's good. That means this one might be able to deploy a little bit longer, but it still has enough engineering bays, just barely, to repair its largest element, the engine. So I didn't double check this one very thoroughly, but I think it actually has everything it needs. And I will also leave this one up for your scrutiny. So behold Senate, Federation Senate. These are your 2-ship designs that we ask the Senate's own private teams to investigate and give us a detailed report on whether they're doing okay. We can also find 67.99 means 14 is right in the sweet spot. We can probably get 14, like, 0.01? Okay, what about 1? Okay, we could actually get, but 2 is the limit. We're just leaving it at 14. I'm not going to use fractions of a whole deployment month, except for when I'm doing PDCs, because those I'm doing at 0.5. Alright, so I'll let me know how these look, and so I will wrap this episode up. Just one more time, I'll switch back and forth. We have the Aegis Destroyer Escort, which is just going to be basically a point defense unit, but still, this is 8 Gauss cannons that can really rake across an enemy if we need to close with our very high speed to finish a unit off. The other one is going to be the Fletcher Missile Destroyer, 9,500 tons. I think these are very well sized for their roles. Very fast missile destroyer. And this one has 12 launchers. And these missiles are all doing 25 damage each, so I think that we're in good shape. But they're submitted for your approval, are these 2 designs. So, until the next episode, thanks for watching. I hope to hear some feedback about if any of these if there's any glaring errors. And yeah, until the next one, thanks for watching and take care.